Welcome, everybody, on behalf of Holocaust Museum LA. My name is Michael Morgenstern, and I'm an educator at the museum. And this afternoon, you have the honor and privilege of listening to Ernest Weiss, a Holocaust survivor who will share his story with you. And afterwards, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions. Before we begin, I would like to share a quick history of our museum. Holocaust Museum LA was founded in the early 1960s by a group of Holocaust survivors who wanted to make sure future generations would always remember and learn from this tragic history. They did this at a time in the early 1960s when many survivors were not yet willing to relive their trauma, largely because the public was not yet ready to listen. But thanks to their courage and foresight, we have what became the first and oldest Holocaust museum in the United States, always with a mission to commemorate, educate, and inspire future generations. We can't do the work that we do today without our survivor community, who still on a regular basis shares their stories with you to make sure that we always can remember and learn from this history. It is my honor and privilege to introduce and welcome Ernest Weiss, who is here today to share his story with his wife, Elaine. Thank you both so much for being a part of our community. And Ernest, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your story with us. And you may begin.
Okay. I was born around the Carpathian Mountains that became Czechoslovakia after the First World War in 1918. And however, it was only Czechoslovakia from 1918 until 1938. I was born in 1927, so I was born under the Czechoslovakia. And under the Czechs, things were pretty good. You didn't feel the anti-Semitism. It's not that it wasn't there, but the Czechs did not allow it. And things were going pretty good. The people were working and kids were having fun. I used to love to go to the amusement parks, going on the swings and the merry-go-round. And, but then in 1938, Hungary took over and you felt the anti-Semitism. Children got beaten up on the street. You go to school, you got beaten up because you're Jewish. And things weren't going so good. But life went on. And it wasn't until approximately around 43, where, if I remember correctly, that we were ordered to wear the Star of David on the street. As soon as you get out of the house, you were forced to wear it. Well, we felt discriminated, but what can you do? We did it. And that went on for a while until the Germans forced the Hungarians to do more. So we had a lot of Jews, and the name of the city was Munkacs. And so they made they made a ghetto, a big part of the city. They made a ghetto, and when it was ready, they ordered all Jews to move into the ghetto. No furniture, just take a suitcase and a little clothes for everybody. And we were a family of 5. We were 3 brothers and my parents. However, by the time we went to the ghetto, we were only 4, because the oldest one, when he became of military age, he was forced to report to the army. However, Jews were not taken into the army. They were sent into forced labor. And so anyway, we moved into the ghetto. We were there for a while. And, I was 16 years old, close to 16 and a half. And I was very energetic. So I didn't know what to do with myself. So I volunteered to work into the ghetto. Of course, you didn't get paid, but at least it kept me busy. And that went on for a while. Then they start making up a transport. They took a group of people at the time, and of course we were still the family, and marched us across the street, across the city, a distance. To the outskirts of the city was a brick factory, and they marched us into the brick factory. And so we were beginning to wonder, why did they take us out of the ghetto now into the brick factory? Well, we soon find out why. The brick factory had railroad tracks where the cattle cars could come in there and take us to Auschwitz-Birkenau. So soon after, they took a group and put us into those cattle cars and took us to Auschwitz-Birkenau. And they told us not to worry, families are going to be together, but we are going to have to work. And we arrived in Auschwitz-Birkenau, we get off, then comes the separation. Women, children, older people, handicapped people. And there was this Gestapo called Mengele, Dr. Joseph Mengele. He did the selecting, and he also selected a group of people for work. And my father and my older brother, who was 2 years older than I was, and they were put in a group to the workforce. And when Dr. Joseph Mengele looked at me, well, apparently I looked strong enough for work. And he also sent me over with the workforce. Let me tell you, that was very lucky, because the children went straight to the gas chamber. So did the older people and the handicapped. So anyway, when they had that group ready, the workforce, they put us into this big barrack. And later on, more people came in. pushed them in there. We were cramped in there. Then they took us out of there, put us into the cattle cars again. And some of you may have heard of the Auschwitz uprising, Warsaw Ghetto uprising, where the Jews fought the Germans from the ghetto, the Gestapo's, the Nazis. And they killed a few of them, a nice few of them probably. So the Germans got very angry and they bombed and bombarded the entire ghetto. And when we arrived in Warsaw, we go down from the train, we look around as far as the eye can see, nothing was standing, everything was leveled. So we start marching. We marched and we finally saw a concentration camp with the electric barbed wires and the tower guards for the guards to watch us. We come in there, they were already people from Poland, France, Holland, Belgium. And in fact, they needed so many people, they had to extend the camp, make it larger. And we wind up and they extended the camp. And then we start going to work every day, rain or shine. And one day, as we are marching to work, there's a big heavy rain coming down on us, really heavy. So me, 16 and a half, I was a kid. I started to cry. Why is this happening to me? The man next to me said, hey kid, now you listen to me and listen to me good. Someday we'll be free again. But if you're gonna cry, you are going to die and you'll never make it. You have to be strong and you will make it. And I stopped crying. I never cried again all the time I was in the concentration camps. So we got to our station, you know, and I had a place where I was working, cleaning up. And one day, as I was working, I kind of worked slow. So the foreman, which was second to the capo, he runs over to me and yelling, why are you so slow? And when he got in front of me and he looked, my face was flushed. I came down with typhoid fever. And what I didn't say is when we arrived in Auschwitz, most people get a tattooed number on their hand, but they were so anxious to make up the transport to Warsaw that we did not get numbered on the hand. We had a number on our jacket. And so the foreman took my number and he said, you are still gonna finish the day working. And he took my number. He said, when you go back to the camp, when you get back to the barracks, you have your bowl of soup, which was a bowl of soup. There was nothing in there except potato peels. While the Nazi guards had the potatoes, we had the potato peels. And they also give you one slice of bread for the entire day. So he said, when you'll get your bowl of soup, you go to see the doctor. If I see you here tomorrow and you didn't see the doctor, you'll be in big trouble. So I knew I had to see the doctor. We were afraid to see a doctor because most of the time you see a doctor, you never come back. We knew that, but I had no choice. He had my number. So I had my bowl of soup and I got a slice of bread. And you had to make a choice, either eat that slice of bread with a bowl of soup or save it for in the morning where you get nothing but a cup of black coffee, which was like water, to save it for that coffee. But if you try to save that slice of bread for in the morning, you get up in the morning, there was a very good chance that slice of bread is not going to be there. Somebody would steal it. So I knew what I had to do. I ate it with my bowl of soup and go hungry until I get another bowl of soup at lunch. So anyway, I did go to see the doctor. The doctor, I don't remember whether he took my temperature or what, but he put me into the hospital. There was a hospital. And I have no idea how long I was there or what they did for me. I was out of it. Until one day, they came to me and they said, you're going back to work. You'll go back to your barrack. Yes, sir. Jawohl, thank you. And I got back into my barracks and go to work. Until one day, now, before you go to work, you line up in front of the barracks and the capo, the block officer who was in charge of the barrack, he will count you to see that everybody is there, that nobody is left in the barrack. When everybody was there, that's when you go to work. Until one day, we line up in front of the barracks, they count you. It was like they called it appel, which was like roll call. And the announcements came. We are leaving Warsaw. You are going to have to march. But those, and only those, who feel they will not be able to take that long march should step aside and we'll provide them with transportation. A lot of people did. I did not. And the block officer, he knew I recently came out of the hospital. He came over to me and he said, look, you just recently came out of the hospital, maybe a couple days or so. Are you sure you'll be able to walk? Maybe you should step aside and get transportation. I said, jawohl, yes, sir, I'll be able to walk. And he left me alone. And we start marching. Going back to those who stepped aside, you never saw them again, ever. They did away with them. They also poisoned the hospital. And anyway, so we start marching. I was still together with my father and my older brother, who was 2 years older than I was. And when the guards, when they saw some people being close together and talk to each other, they will beat you up and until you get separated. And we got separated. The march was to the Polish-German border. And there we were supposed to get the train. So we marched. It was a death march. A lot of people died of all kinds of things, whether it was thirst, hunger, or weakness, or sickness, or whatever, died. A lot of people died. We arrived to the Polish-German border. And luckily, I, of course, find that out later on, that all three of us survived that death march. Oh, my father and my brother. So we arrived at the Polish-German border. The train wasn't there, so we slept overnight there. And finally, in the morning, the train came. They packed us in and took us to Dachau. We arrived in Dachau. We get in there, sick, hungry, undernourished, dehydrated. And they look at us, and they would have liked to kill us all. But it was in September of 1944 where they still needed our labor. So they started to select people who they felt wouldn't take too long to put them back on their feet under doctor's care, to give us little food, little water at the time, whatever we need, because they still needed our labor. When they put us back on our feet, they started sending us out to different concentration camps. My father wound up in a different concentration camp, my brother, and also me in a different concentration camp. I was sent to a place called Mildorf. What they built over there is an underground airport for the German fighter planes. And of course, that took a lot of cement. And that's what we had to do, carry cement. I don't know how we managed, as weak as we were with little food, but we managed. You had this willpower to fight, never give up hope. And that's what kept us alive. So we worked, and of course, let me tell you, it never got completed. One day, as we line up in front of our barracks, and they count us, and here comes the loudspeaker. we are leaving Mildorf. We have transportation for everybody. Also, which I never mentioned, we were in the forest called the Waldlager. But on the other side of Mildorf, there was another concentration camp. But we all worked in that same place. And so they packed us in from both camps together. They were going to take us to the Tyrol Mountains. That's where they were going to kill us. They packed us in and the train starts moving. But some of the route that we were supposed to go to the Tyrol Mountains was already cut off, captured by the Americans. And when the transport Führer, who was in charge of the transport, when he realized he will never get a train to the Tyrol Mountains, so he had that train pulled over in a small village, and he had all the guards surround the train from a distance. So when you get off the train, you don't see the guards. Then the guards were in their place. They open up the doors for us. And here comes the loudspeaker. The war is over and you are all free to go. Just go. So we spread out and we start walking. Some of them who were a little bit faster. And when they got closer to where the guards were, the guards started to shoot. Killed a lot of people. But those from the distance, when we heard the fire, the machine guns, we ran back to the train. We all got back into the train. Then they took the dead and the wounded and threw them into one car. And we continued to go. The next day, the train stops again. The announcement came, the Red Cross is going to give us a bowl of soup. And they let out one car at a time. When they were finished, they go back, open up another car. All of a sudden, there was machine gun fire from up above. A couple of American planes, first thing they looked down, they saw the SS. So they thought the entire train was SS. They attacked us. Now the people who were down below getting the soup, they said to each other, we better open up the doors for those people so they can run for cover. That sounded like a very good idea. And they did. We get out of the train, disoriented, didn't know what to do. So the guards started to fire from down below with the planes from up above. And I saw a couple people go underneath the train. So I did the same thing. Needless to say, a lot of people died. But when the American planes, they realized, they saw us with the prison clothes. They saw that, oh, they're not all prisoners. I mean, they're not all SS. So they stopped firing. They went away. Then the SS started to fire also, and they took the dead and the wounded, again threw them into another car. And we continued to go. The next day, which I remember was actually May 1st, 1945. Next day, the train stops again. They open up the doors for us. We go down. Now, I was very observant, I must say, and I saw previously, I saw young SS guards, also some older guards, which were called the Wehrmacht. And this time, I see only the Wehrmacht, only the older people, the older guards. The young ones took off. So I said to myself, the young ones, the SS, took off. The war must be either over or close to being over. So, and they didn't want to be captured, so they escaped. And, you know, the Wehrmacht, they were more actually very lenient. You know, they didn't yell at us and not to get too far from the train, you know. But they watched us. But I see a couple of people sneaking out into the village. Well, I thought I'm going to do the same thing, which I did. But it took a few minutes later until I made that decision. So I was on my own. So I go a little bit, not too far, where I see a military truck. Right away, I hide behind the tree. And I look at the truck and it looks different. And they saw me too. So they stopped and they say, don't worry, Americans. Oh my God, I'm a free man. So they said, go a little further down. You will see more American trucks and they will give you something to eat. Which I did, and I found them. But they were not prepared to give us any food. What they did is they opened up a can of Spam and they gave it to me. I look at that and says, I could finish this in no time. But while looking at it, I also saw how greasy it was. And I said to myself, this is not going to be good for my stomach. But I'm so hungry, I'm going to have some of it anyway. What happens, happens. I ate about 1/3 of it, and the rest I put in my pocket. Soon the rest of the people from the train came in there, walking around, laying down on the sidewalk, on the street, didn't know what to do with ourselves. Now, not too far from where we were liberated, there used to be a Hitler youth camp. Of course, they were no longer there. The Americans, they find that, and they looked it over and they say, this would be a good place for these people. And they had the soldiers round us up to take us over there. They knew that we had fear of being rounded up. So they said, not to worry, they're taking us to a nice place. So we believed them and we got more relaxed. They took us over there. They put in a few in the room, but we all had our own bed with blankets and pillows and sheets. Oh my God, this is great. And we were under doctor's care, needed medication, whatever we needed. Also, again, little food, little water, so our stomach could get used to eating again. And that went on for a while, and we all got better and stronger. Later on, we got some entertainment, some music and dancing, and that was very nice, very nice. Now, after about 4 or 5 months, when we were all getting to be in good shape, they started asking if anybody wants to go back home where we were born. I said, yes, sure, I want to go back home. I want to see who else remained alive. And so did a lot of other people. So they made up a transport, put them on trucks, and took them over to Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia. And they put us into a hotel. I don't know, somebody paid for it, not us. We didn't have any money. So again, they gave us rooms and food. And the next day, I go down into a restaurant to get my breakfast. And my God, who do I see? My brother, who was 2 years older than I was. We got separated on that death march. Oh my God, thanks God he's alive. And we hugged and kissed and cried. And we said, we're going to go back home to see who else is coming home. Now, the next stop was Hungary. We got to Hungary, to Budapest. There, we saw already the Zionist organization, very active, organizing people like us to go to Palestine to build a Jewish homeland. And I saw that and it sounded like a very good idea, but we are not ready for that. We're still going to go home first to see who else is coming home. And we did. We got a pass, like a little passport to continue traveling back home. They gave us also some clothes and some spending money, and we continued. We got back home. Of course, our home was no longer our home. Somebody else was living there. Well, we're not gonna fight them. Now, some organization was already aware of that, and they organized a building for people who come home and don't have a place where to stay. So they had that big building, and we find out about that. They told us about that, and we got in there, and that's where we stayed. We also knew that we have to go to the police department to get an ID, because you can get stopped at any time by the police, ask you for an ID. And if you don't have an ID, then you're in trouble. We went down there, they gave us a big welcome home, and they gave us an ID. They also said, we are giving you 2 weeks time and then come back to us. Report to us and we'll give you a job. I said, yes, sir. We will do that. We got out of there. And I said to my brother, we'll see, we'll stay here a little longer and we'll see who else is coming home. And then we go to Budapest to join the Zionist organization to go to Palestine. We didn't have any family in America to bring us over here. So we, like I said, we waited a little longer, nobody came home. And what happened to my oldest brother, I found that out later, that he passed away. I have no idea how he passed away, when he passed away, but he never came back. He never came back home. Now, what I didn't mention earlier is that the oldest brother, he was a very fine auto mechanic. He also loved America. He saw every American movie. And he also had an English dictionary, English, Hungarian, and he learned English. And he spoke pretty good English. And he told to me, Ernie, you'll get a little older and you and I, we're gonna go to America. And I'll open up a shop, make some money, and then bring over the rest of the family. Of course, unfortunately, that never happened. So I actually also loved America, and my heart was in America. But anyway, then the Zionist organization, when they find out that we're the only 2 survivors, and the Palestine was occupied by the British. The British did not let us in. So everything had to go illegally. They had to sneak us in. So when the Zionist organization find out that we are the only 2 survivors, so they said if something should happen, because one of the ships got sunk. If something should happen, it shouldn't happen to both of us. So they separated us. And they said to me, you will go first, your brother is gonna go with the next transport, and you will meet over there, meeting in Palestine. So they made up a transport, and I was on it. We went to Vienna, stayed there overnight, and then there was a big displaced persons camp in a big city called Linz. And they took us from there to Linz, and they found us a rooms, and they said, we are going to be meeting from time to time. Okay, we will let you know when and where. And so it did. We did have meetings. They indoctrinate you to go to Palestine to build a Jewish homeland. It was actually a long procedure. We were supposed to go from Austria to Italy, from Italy to Palestine. I was very anxious to leave Europe. Well, one day I see a bulletin. Children, teenagers who lost their family should register and they'll take them to America. Well, being indoctrinated, I was ready to tear that sign down so nobody else could see it because everybody should go to Palestine. But I didn't do it. When I went to bed that evening, I was thinking, who knows how much longer we're going to have to be here until we continue to go. I want out of here as soon as possible. So I said, I am going to register. But wherever is going to come up first, that's where I will go. As much as I always wanted to go to America. But the first thing I wanted out of here. So I registered. I was also still with the Zionist organization to go to Palestine. Well, to make a long story short, it came up first to go to America. Okay, wonderful. I really always wanted to go to America. And we go to Bremen Harbor. We were put on one of those military ships, and we started to sail. And of course, we got a little seasick, but that's okay, we can handle that. And to make a long story short, when we're getting close to New York, announcements came. We're getting close to the Statue of Liberty. Look out, watch out for it. And we did. And I look at the Statue of Liberty and I started to cry. I am going to be an American, and I'm going to be an American. And we arrived in New York, and they picked us up and took us into this place. And we were there for a few days. Then they sent a few of us to Cleveland. And we were there with some orphan children's, people from divorced families, and put us in with those children. And then they found me a place in Pittsburgh with a family. And they put me in with this family. I had my own room. And okay, what I want to say is that a social worker picked me up and took me over there. And they also said, tomorrow I will come and get you some clothes and you will start going to school to learn English. Oh, that's wonderful. And he did. He got me all prepared and took me by streetcar to this school. And he also said, we are going to be meeting from time to time in my office. And he showed me where his office is. And I started learning English and meeting with him. Of course, he spoke fluently Yiddish, so did I. And we spoke in Yiddish. Then later on, he pressed me to speak in English. I said, well, I don't know, just whatever you can, the rest in Yiddish. That went on for about 4 or 5 months. Then he said to me, Ernie, your English is good enough to get a job. We have to bring over other people like we brought you over. So therefore, that's why we cannot support you any longer. They found me a job in the wholesale men's haberdashery, which was men's clothing, everything except suits. And that was a business of 3 partners. So one of them was the inside man. The other two partners were on the road, going to the retail stores to book orders. And, you know, they covered Pennsylvania, part of Ohio, Virginia, West Virginia. They did a lot of traveling. But for the weekends, we always came home because Sunday was our busiest day. Because Saturday was the retailer's busiest day. And on Sunday, from the city and from the outskirts of the city, they came in to fill in orders. And some of them they took along, others we shipped out. And that went on. And so when it comes vacation time, when the inside man had to go on vacation, one of the salesmen, one of the partners from the road stayed inside. And I continued to go to night school because I felt English is very important for me. Plus, there are a lot of things that I could use in school. I felt I needed more math. And I also took English and American history, US government, and that went on. When my English got better, they let me wait on customers. So anyway, what they did is they broke me in from the beginning. They broke me in how to receive merchandise and how to put it away. And then fill the orders what the salesmen, what the partners sent in. You know, in those days, there was no email. So everything went by handwriting. They wrote up orders, sent it in, we filled it and shipped it out. That's how it went. So as I was saying, as my English got better, they let me wait on customers. And I learned their names and the name of the companies that their business went under. And then later on, when the inside man had to go on vacation, instead of sending bringing in one of the partners, they put me in charge. Oh my God, they said to me, Ernie, I'm going on vacation, and here's the key. You'll be in charge. Oh my God, what a responsibility. How will I do it? But I did. We had a secretary, and we had another man besides me helping out. And I was in charge. And one of the people who comes in to buy stuff, he had 3 stores. He never said good morning or hi. His greeting was, go west, young man, go west. So after he left, I asked, why does he always say, go west, young man, go west? He says, well, in a way, it's an American expression, but he has family in Los Angeles, California, where it never snows. Never snows. That got into my head. I never heard of anything like that. Everywhere I was, it snowed. So I get together with 2 other friends. They were also Holocaust survivors. We used to love to go ballroom dancing. And we get together and I tell them, you know, there is a place called Los Angeles, California, where it never snows. What do you think? You think we should quit our jobs and move there? One of them says, honey, are you crazy? With all the travelings we did, we finally settled down. We have a place where to live. We have a job. We even have a place we know where to go, ballroom dancing. And we even have phone numbers from girls to go out on a date. Now to give all this up and go to a place where you don't know anybody and no job and none. So he was right. He said, are you crazy? I said, he said, just forget it. Okay, we did forget it for a while, but it kept on coming up. To make a long story short, finally, we did decide to leave. We quit our jobs, we bought a car, and we were on our road the day after Rosh Hashanah. And now what I forgot to say, what I didn't say, is while living in Pittsburgh, we had another close friend that he moved to Dallas, Texas. And he wrote us letters. And he said, guys, move over here to Dallas, Texas. A lot of opportunities. You are going to love it. But we never did. So anyway, we went on the road. And before Yom Kippur, we stopped off in Amarillo, Texas, and we took a motel. And for Yom Kippur, we went to the temple. Now, coming the next day, one of the guys says, hey, fellas, what about what Joe told us about Dallas, Texas? Shall we go to Dallas, Texas, or shall we go to Los Angeles? Well, being in America, we said, well, we'll vote. 3 of them voted Dallas, and I voted Los Angeles. Well, we had to go to Dallas. We traveled towards Dallas. And at that time, that was 1952, it was a drought, very hot. Everything was burned down to a crisp as we traveled. But we continued to travel. We went as far as Fort Worth, Texas. We stopped off over there. And then I speak up. I say, hey, fellas, look around you. Everything is dry and burned down to a crisp. Are you sure this is where you want to settle down? Or shall we turn this buggy around and go to Los Angeles? They looked at each other and said, well, maybe Ernie is right. Okay, let's go to Los Angeles. We turned that buggy around, went back to Los Angeles, towards Los Angeles. And we continued to travel, but when we got close to Los Angeles, we thought we were already in Los Angeles, but we were in a small town. And in those days, the freeways were not ready. So we stopped off in a motel. And the owner of the motel says, where are you guys going? I said, well, we are going to Los Angeles. We are in Los Angeles. No, you are in El Monte. That's a little while. And you are 4 guys. It's going to take us a while until you will find a place suitable for all 4 of us. I would suggest that you rent this motel for a week and I'll give you a better price. Well, it did make sense. And we did that. And like I said, the freeways were not ready. So we had to go on the side roads. And of course, we had those offices where you sell houses and buy and rent houses. And we did go to those places, and finally they did find us a place. We had to have at least 2 bedrooms and 2 beds in each room. And in the kitchen, we did our own cooking, the living room. So we found a good place and we rented it. Then we had to go for a job. Somebody suggested we should get this job to go door to door, selling dishes and silverware. Well, we were 4 guys. 2 of us worked in stores and we had salesmanship. So we did all right. But the other 2, one of them was a dental technician and the other one was a tailor. They didn't do so good. But the plan was that we had to split whatever sales we make. And that's how it went. And who do we sell it to? We sell it to poorer people. And of course, they took it on on they had to pay interest. So they had to pay the interest and the payments. And I and the other guy said, that is not for us. We cannot take this. Those poor people, they have to pay interest on top of the making the payments. I cannot handle it. We have to get other jobs. We decided to get other jobs. Well, the other one was in toys and novelties. I was in the wholesale haberdashery. So go back to the same kind of jobs. At that time, I was downtown Los Angeles, where all the wholesalers were. We got a job over there. And I wound up in first in a wholesale custom jewelry. And I worked there for a while. Then the other guy started in a warehouse of toys and novelties. Well, they were very busy, especially before Christmas. So the other guy talked me into to come and work with him. And I did. I worked in toys and novelties. And I still worked wound up in the wholesale houses in the haberdashery. Then they didn't pay very good. I found out about jobs that have benefits with hospitalization and vacations and sick leave and later on a pension. I found out about this place called Douglas Aircraft and Aerospace Company. I got a job there. I went in there, I applied, and I filled out the application. I had a very fine interviewer, and he looked at me. He also realized that it was a Holocaust survivor. And he says, look, the only job I have for you is in the electronic parts department. You will learn all about it. And you don't have to stay there all the time. After you learn all about this, you'll find out where the wholesalers come and you can become a buyer. That sounds great to me. I will take it. And it took about 2-3 years. And I applied for a job in the purchasing department. And I got the job. And I became a buyer. And I continued to go to this ballroom dancing. And I did get married. However, the marriage didn't last very long. I had one daughter and went marriage counseling. But to make a long story short, we wound up getting divorced. It was a mutual agreement. And I continued to go to ballroom dancing. And later on, I discovered international folk dancing, dances from all over the world. And I found I loved it. I found out where the beginners class are. I learned from scratch, and I learned it. Continued to go. But after the divorce, I was really very much afraid of getting involved again in the relationship. But, you know, I did here and there, and it didn't work. It went one step forward, two steps backwards. It didn't work. Some of them was me, some of them was the other part. It didn't work. And one day I met Elaine. Elaine, she was married, but her husband passed away. And after 1 year, she talked to her girlfriend. They went to school together in Dallas. And she talks to her on the phone and reading the Jewish Journal. And she sees, well, this ballroom dancing, 55 and over. She says to her, you think you want to go, shall we go folk ballroom dancing, 55 and over? Her girlfriend was in the midst of getting a divorce. And she says, sure, let's go. So Elaine says, we probably won't stay longer, but let's go. And I see them walking in. Right away, I got very attracted to Elaine, just from the looks. And I said, I'm gonna have to have a dance with her. And sure enough, she took the table right next to me. And my table was full of my friends, some of them folk dancers, some of them non-folk dancers. So I took one of the best dancers from the table, this lady, and we danced. And I did a little showing off right in front of her table. Then went back and waited a little bit. Then I figured, now it's time. And I walk over and I ask her for a dance. She said, I would love to, but I may be a little rusty. I haven't been dancing in a long time. And my answer was, have no fear, Ernie is here. And so we danced and we talked. And as we talked, I must tell you, previously dancing with the other ladies, and between marriages and bad relationships, some of those ladies had a lot of anger in themselves. And when I danced with them, I heard it in their voices. But when I danced with Elaine, I didn't hear that. I says, oh my God, this one is different. And I danced with her and I says, you know, Elaine, I never ask a lady for the phone number the first time I danced with her. But I would like your phone number and take you for dinner and dancing. She was very surprised because she was not really ready for that. But she said to me, that was in October. She said, the month of November is going to be very busy for me. I have a son at West Point. I'm going to see him and his family. And when I come back, I have 2 sons near San Francisco, and I'm going to see them. And when I come back, we can get together. I says, that's wonderful, that's great. I says, I'm a very patient man, and you are a lovely lady, well worthwhile waiting for.
Ask for questions now. Just ask for
Yeah,
questions now.
she'll tell me. So, so anyway, she came back and we started dating. And after a while, dating a while, and I said to her, you know, I says, why we're seeing each other so much, why not live together? No, 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 no. Well, that went on for, finally, she agreed. And I moved in and we started living together. She has four children, 3 sons and a daughter. And she introduced me to them and we became one big happy family. And we are now together going on 26 years. And I guess that's oh yeah, and by the way, so I got it was, but my daughter, when she got married, she had a son, and my grandson got married and has 2 children. So I have a grandson and 2 great grandchildren. They're going to be 7 and 9 this coming October and November. And that is the story of my life.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. If anybody has any questions, those watching on Zoom can use the Q&A box, and those watching on Facebook can use the comments section, and we'll answer a couple of questions. First question we have, you mentioned the doctor at the hospital. Do you think he was a good person? Did he genuinely think you might need to take the transportation, or unaware that those who did wouldn't return?
Well, actually, I don't remember the doctor. I never, but you know, he treated me whatever he needed to do. And then, yeah, then when I got better, he told me, or somebody told me, whether it was the doctor or a nurse, said, you're going back to work. And so he started going back to work. Is that answering this question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Can you please share with us a little bit about your parents and what you remember about them, about their personalities?
Well, okay, let me tell you this. In the concentration camps, we had not only Jews, we had a few non-Jews. And some of them were political prisoners. We had the green triangle below the numbers. They had a green triangle. Then we had political prisoners. They had a red triangle. No, I take that back. We had the blue triangle. The political prisoners had the red. And then we had some criminals also in concentration camps. And they were the green triangle. And would you believe they were they came, the couples and foremen. So they knew how to be rough. We got beaten up a lot of times. But let me tell you, we also had some Jewish couples. Also, so in order to save their jobs, they had to be rough. But what I didn't mention also is that on that death march, one of my foot, my what do you call it, got infected. The heel part got infected, and it took a long time for it to get in order to be cut out the pus. So they took me off from the hard work and carrying cement and put me in the camp to work and inside the camp to clean up and let me tell you something, we had a lot of diarrhea. So a lot of people, they just let it go right in front of the barracks. They couldn't make it to the toilet. So they had me cleaning up. And of course, I needed more help because it was a lot of work. So the couple give me an extra helper. Now, he actually inside, he was not a bad man. And he became close to me. And he said to me, Kleiner, he called me Kleiner, little guy. He said, "You're doing a good job. I'm going to give you an extra bowl of soup." Oh my God, thank you, couple. Thank you so much. And let me tell you, that extra bowl of soup was a lifesaver. And so, he gave me a helper. So, it got to the point where I was able to talk to him without being afraid. So I said to him, "Capo, my helper here, he's really doing a good job. And in order for him to continue to good job, do you think you could give him an extra bowl of soup so he will be stronger?" He looked at me, said, "If you say so, I will give him an extra bowl of soup," which he did. Now, my helper was from Belgium, and he knew that was a lifesaver. He said to me, "Ernie, he will ever get free again. My parents were in the diamond business. And if we should ever get free again, you will come with me and you will have nothing to worry about." But with all that stuff going on, with the false liberation and the attack from the planes, we got separated, and I have no idea if he ever remained alive or not. But that was the end of that. Any other questions?
Thank you for sharing. Can you please share with us what happened to your father?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I meant to bring this up. When we got back home, I found out that one of the fellows from my hometown who came back home, he said to me, I tell you what happened to your father. I was together with him, and he got bitten by a German shepherd, and he was sent back to Dachau, and that's where he died. And actually, I did get a notice from Dachau about my father that he passed away there.
Thank you. To conclude, you speak on a regular basis, particularly to students, our future generations. What message do you like to leave your audience with after listening to your story?
What I would like to tell them is to talk about it to your friends, to your family. And when you get married, after you get married and you have children of your own, when they get to a certain age where they will understand, you will guide yourself accordingly. And when they get to a certain age, talk to them about it too. So this should never be forgotten. And yeah, okay, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh yes,
Yes.
Sorry, I know what I meant to say.
Oh, yes.
Is be close with your parents. Be close with them, love them, but because they love you. And when you have a problem, don't hesitate to go to them and confide. I never had that chance. So please be close with your parents. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. And Elaine, we would like to say hi to you as well.
Okay, hello.
Hi, Elaine. Thank you so much for your support and for everything both of you do for our museum and our community. And would you like to say anything?
We just appreciate the fact that people are interested because it's a story that must continue because some people are denying such a thing, such a horrible thing ever happened. So just to let your history know the truth. That's all.
Well, thank you so much to both of you for everything you do for our community by sharing this story. We're so grateful to have both of you here to be speaking and to be sharing with us. We appreciate everything that you do for our future generations.
And you're quite welcome. And I want to thank all the students for taking an interest in the Holocaust.
And thank you, Michael, for all that you do.
And thank you too, Michael.
Well, it's my pleasure, and thank you so much. And we have people typing in, thank you so much for sharing your story. We hope to welcome everyone next week as well. Dana Schwartz will be sharing her story next Thursday. Please continue to tune in. We have Survivor Talks every Thursday. And of course, for anyone here who is a teacher or knows teachers, our school year is starting, and we do have in-person and virtual field trips, which include Survivor Talks. So thank you so much again to Ernie and Elaine.
Michael,
And yes,
just for curiosity, how old are they, children?
this is general public today. So you
Okay,
have,
public.
yes,
Okay.
yes. So various people are tuning in today to listen to your story. And these talks are also recorded, so people can also come back and watch it later. So we thank you all so much, and wishing you an early Shana Tova as well. So
Thank you very much, and the same to you.
thank you so much. Wishing everybody a good day and good week ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.